Welcome to our video series introducing you to web graphics. In this video, we'll look at several important graphic file formats. In this video, I'm going to start talking you through web graphics. First of all, I'm going to talk you through a very important point, which is the different graphic formats that are available. What do I mean by graphic format? First, let me open an image I have. Okay, I've opened up this water lilies photograph and you can see how it looks. This image is in a particular format. It's in JPEG format. And how I know that is, first of all, I know that because it's in the name of the file. The file ends in dot, and then after the dot, it tells you which type of file it is. For example, a common type of file is .doc, .doc, and a DOC file is a Microsoft Word document. So that's a file format, and the extension, the three letters that come after the dot, is known as the extension. They effectively tell you which type of file it is. So in the example DOC, doc is a Word document, and in this example, .jpg is JPEG. And JPEG is just one format of image, an image for your computer and for the web. In just a moment, I'll come to show you why it's important to know the differences between these images, these image formats. Actually, I have three images available that all look the same. I have waterlilies.jpg, JPG, waterlilies.gif, GIF, and waterlilies.bmp, bitmap. And you can see that if I jump through them, they look exactly the same. There's no discernible difference. So what's the difference? There are many more graphic formats than I'll touch on here. However, it's worth mentioning that bitmap is quite a common format for an image. A bitmap is very high quality, but it also creates very large files. What I mean by that is that when you download something from the internet, you know the download is generally measured in megabytes. And while I know floppy disks aren't really used much at all anymore for computers, but floppy disks were just a little over a megabyte. So if you were downloading something that's 10 megabytes in size, it would fit on approximately 8 or 9 floppy disks. The point is that the more megabytes there are to a file or an image, the more information there is, the more data there is, the longer it will take to download from the internet, and that's why BMP, bitmap, isn't very good for online images. Perhaps it's good for starting with, but what you really want to do is you want to deal with, there are three formats you want to deal with online for online images. In particular, you want to deal with GIF, GIF, you want to deal with JPEG, JPG, and also to a lesser degree, it's not used as much as GIF or JPEG, there's also PNG. So what's the difference between GIF, JPEG, and PNG? Well, there are actual differences, but not huge differences that you particularly need to worry about. Personally, I would stick with GIF and JPEG. Really, what I would do as a shortcut when dealing with images, if they're going onto your website, I would save an image in both GIF format and JPEG format and see if there's much difference in the quality. And if there isn't much difference, just go with whichever file, whichever image is smaller. Generally, when you're dealing with images for the internet, you aren't dealing with megabytes. You're actually dealing with kilobytes, and it's approximately 1,000 kilobytes to a megabyte. So if you divide the space on a floppy disk by 1,000, you have a data quantity of a kilobyte. So the bottom line is generally stick with GIFs or JPEGs when saving images to your website. Again, I do suggest saving to both formats and seeing if there's a big difference in quality and using whichever one is the smallest size that gives you quality you're happy with. We'll go into all of this in more detail in a later video. So that's a crash course in the different graphic formats. I say graphic formats in the image formats, picture formats. You can say image, graphic, and picture pretty much interchangeably. So I'll probably change between those words quite often, and they effectively mean the same thing. So those are the differences between formats. And again, these two formats, GIF and JPEG, are designed specifically for the web visitor, so they don't have to sit around forever waiting for images to appear. Even though the majority of people have broadband connections now, if all your images were bitmaps, people would still be sitting around waiting for these to appear. And people really don't want to sit around and wait for the web pages to load. And if they have to, they probably won't stick around. So you'll want your pages to load quickly. So the smaller in size they are, the quicker they load. Okay, I've gone to the desktop, and that's where the images are, the image files are. Let me just rearrange the order. We started with the bitmap, and then I converted that bitmap to different formats, to JPEG format, to GIF format, and to PNG format. And generally, you can see that just holding the mouse over the icon will tell you how big it is in size. Or you can, of course, just right-click, go to Properties, and it tells you there. You can see Size on Disk, and it details it there. And you can also see further details in the Summary tab, but I'll come to that in the next video, so let's cancel that. Okay, just holding the mouse over it, you see the bitmap, the original version of the image, the highest quality version, which has the most picture data, is 1.37 megabytes. Whereas by comparison, the JPEG has 217 kilobytes. And as we said, 1,000 kilobytes is a megabyte, so really it's less than 15% the size of the bitmap, so a much smaller file to download. But as we saw when we were flicking between them, there's no real discernible difference in quality. And the GIF is 204 kilobytes as opposed to 217, so okay, not much difference there. The PNG is 688 kilobytes, so quite a bit bigger. However, one point to bear in mind regarding this, I've opened up the bitmap, the high quality bitmap, and if I choose File, Save As, I can save the file, if I want to a different location or even with a different name. But actually, I can save it to a different image format. And currently, it's defaulted to PNG. And there are some more advanced options, so let me tick them off for a second so they can go away. And first of all, let's go with JPEG. I don't want JPEG 2000, just standard JPEG files. And now, if I show Options dialog, we should have JPEG options. And actually, interestingly, we also have GIF options. What I'd like to demonstrate here is that when you're saving a JPEG, and also when you're saving a GIF, but to a lesser extent, you're not just saving an image, you're also choosing at what quality and with which settings the image is saved. For example, save quality. Currently, it's on 100, which is best. And if I took this all the way down to 1, that would be the lowest. So that would make the file size, the image size, quite a bit smaller, but it would also massively affect the quality of the image. So really, you have to think about how important image quality is, and you have to balance that with the type of visitors you have. Are they on dial-up, or are the majority of them on broadband? And how long will they be prepared to sit around waiting for images to appear? And you may wish to play around with the settings until you've optimized them for your website and your visitors. More on this later, but I did want to demonstrate it quickly. So you can see that even with one single JPEG image, you can save it with lots of different JPEG options. That can make a big difference to quality and file size. So, okay, we've saved quality as 1. I'm saving it to the desktop, and I'm going to call it Water Lilies Quality 1. And let's see what I've done. Save. Okay, that's saved, and I've gone to the desktop, and here's our original JPEG, and it's 217 kilobytes, and here's our Quality 1 graphic, and it's 5.86 kilobytes, a huge difference. And let's see what it looks like. Okay, this is how it looks, a vast difference. So that's how different image formats can make a difference in file size, but also how different settings within the actual format can make a huge difference to quality and also file size as well. And okay, I've gone back to the original bitmap as well, and just once more, File, Save As, and let's go with GIF, CompuServe GIF. And the options are here. As you can see, there aren't as many options here. There are only two options. Save interlaced, yes or no, and more on this later, and save transparent color, yes or no. So since there aren't as many options here, out of interest, let's just save interlaced, and let's save it as water lilies interlaced. And save that. Okay, that's saved, and it's on the desktop, so let's have a look. Here's the original, 204 kilobytes, and here's the new one, 213. Not much difference. As you saw with the GIF, you have fewer options for how it's saved. You have far fewer options to choose among when saving into this image format as opposed to JPEG. Anyway, that's an introduction to image formats and why it's important to understand them and differentiate between them and what difference that can make to visitors on your website. I'll finish up this video by mentioning that I'll be doing many of these demonstrations in Irfan View, and Irfan View is a great and entirely free image editor. At least it's free at this time and hopefully will be free permanently. And if you simply go to irfanview.com, you can download it at this time entirely free of charge, and as I said, hopefully it will still be free by the time you visit. It's been around for a few years and has been updated regularly to newer and newer versions and had been downloaded many times, perhaps over 1 million times. So it's a very popular and proven piece of free software. I'll be doing lots of demonstrations in this software, so you don't necessarily have to go out and purchase software just to follow along with these videos and start benefiting from what you've learned from these videos for your own website.